Welcome to Montgomery College Zoom video conference training. Montgomery College has adopted Zoom video conferencing. It can be used for conference calls, video conferencing, department meetings, vendor meetings, screen sharing, content sharing, annotation, demos, and training. It is suggested that employees utilize Zoom while working remotely. To access Zoom, open your internet browser and go to https://montgomerycollege.zoom.com. You are now at the Montgomery College video conferencing page. There are three options once you arrive at this page. Join to connect to a meeting in progress, host to start a meeting, and sign in to configure your account. So we will click sign in to configure your account. Now you will receive the MyMC login page. You will put your username and password as you normally would do when you are on campus. And click sign in. And the profile page appears. On this page, you have your profile information, such as your personal meeting ID and just basic information for Zoom. There's nothing that needs to be changed on this page. If you like, you can add a photo. Otherwise, there's nothing else that needs to be changed. For the Meetings tab, this tab shows you your upcoming meetings, your previous meetings, your personal meeting room, and you can schedule a new meeting. If you scroll down, there's an option to install the Microsoft Outlook plugin, and you see there's a download button. This is a very important step because it allows you to schedule Zoom meetings within Outlook. So if you have permissions, go ahead and click the download button, and it will download the Microsoft Outlook plugin. And you'll see it's at the bottom of the screen. Now I already have mine installed, but I will go ahead and click on it and go through the process so that you can see what it looks like. So you will go through and do next, 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 and then click finish. I'm going to close mine out because, as I mentioned, I already have it installed. Now, once it finishes installing your Outlook plugin, you will have to close Microsoft Outlook and then open it back up. And once you open Outlook again, you will see this schedule a meeting and then start instant meeting. So these are the two icons that you are looking for once you install the Microsoft plugin. Okay, so back to Zoom. Again, that was the meetings page, and you scroll to the bottom and you can download the Microsoft Outlook plugin, which allows you to get the schedule a meeting button on your toolbar within Outlook. There is also an option for recordings. You can record your Zoom meetings. This page allows you to search for recordings. You have two options. You can record your Zoom meetings in the cloud or via your local device. So your laptop, your desktop, whatever device that you're using to host the meeting, you can have it to automatically record to your device. There is also a settings tab. Now, this is a very important tab because it has a lot of information on here. Now, let me let you know that most of the items that are on the meeting section of settings, you will use the default. Most of the settings that are default, you do not need to change. So the only thing for hosts, you can leave it on. You can leave participants video. People are able to turn it on or turn it off within the meeting. So you don't have to change those settings. The audio type, there's two ways that someone can listen in on the Zoom session. They have the option of telephone or computer audio, or they can do both. Well, not both at the same time, but they can do either one, either telephone or computer audio. And so you want to leave it on telephone and computer audio because you don't know how people will be calling in or listening in to the meeting. The rest of these items, again, you just want to leave the default. The one thing that you can turn off is the require a password when scheduling new meetings. For the most part, you won't need to have that on, so you can turn that off. What that means is that whenever someone goes to log into your meeting, they will need a password. That is not necessary, and so you can turn that off. If you do need to change it, when we schedule a meeting, there is an option to require a password, and you can turn that feature on. But the default for your meetings, you will not need a password. And so I just want you to see that there are a lot of options. Again, please just accept the defaults. Once you become an intermediate or advanced user, then you can go in and change things once you're very familiar with Zoom. But for now, I would truly suggest that you leave the default settings. You can also go in at your leisure and look at the settings and learn more about them. And last, there is a reports tab, which allows you to run reports based on your usage. And then also you can, if you do polls during your meetings, then you're able to run reports on that as well. So that is the menu tab. We also have at the top the toolbar with the schedule a meeting, join a meeting, and host a meeting. And so these are options that are available to you. When you're scheduling a meeting, you're setting up a future meeting. So you want to have a meeting tomorrow or later this afternoon or next week. Anytime in the future, you would use the schedule a meeting. If you want to join a meeting, that's a way that you can do that as well. And then host a meeting. You have an option to host a meeting with the video on, with the video off, or to screen share only. So let's go in and schedule a meeting. And again, we have the option here, or we can go to the meeting tab and schedule a new meeting from here as well. So you have two options. So since we're here, I'll go ahead and click schedule a meeting. So the topic, what's the name of your meeting? I'm going to name my meeting a Zoom meeting, Zoom training. We are going to have Zoom training. The meeting will be 8 a.m. It will last for 1 hour. If we needed to change it, we could also do that, 1 hour and 30 minutes, however long you would like for it to be. If there is a recurring meeting, there's an option for that as well. You can select recurring meeting. Registration, the default is not checked. You don't want to have everyone to register before they can attend the meeting. That is unnecessary. Your meeting ID should be generated automatically. That's the default. You can leave that there. And this is where I was stating about the meeting password. So we have the default turned off for meeting password. However, if you wanted to have a password required, then you could simply check that box and it will give you the password to give your attendees. So you would give them this password. We're going to take that off. Video, again, the default is off for the host and the participant. They can turn it on once they are in the meeting. You can turn it on. The participant can turn their video on. So that's not a big deal. The audio, again, we want to leave both options. That's the default. Now, there are a few meeting options here. Again, none of them are checked, and so I would leave it that way. Again, just accept the defaults. Alternative host, this would be used if you had someone that you wanted to co-host with you. You would put in their email address, and they would be able to be a co-host. After that, you save it. Now you've saved your, oh, I'm sorry. I need to save it for tomorrow at 8 a.m. because I have today. Tomorrow at 8 a.m. Okay. So now that I have saved the meeting, I have the option to add it to my Google Calendar, my Outlook calendar, or my Yahoo calendar. So I can add it to either of those calendars. If you are not already logged into any of these applications, you would need to log in first, and then it would create the calendar invite for you. There is an option to copy the invitation. If you wanted to copy it and then paste it into your Outlook or Gmail or Yahoo, that is an option as well. If you wanted to start the meeting right now, there's a start this meeting, and you can start it right at this moment. If you need to edit the meeting, there's an edit this meeting, and you can make changes to the meeting as well. So this is how we schedule a meeting. Now we're going to go in and host a meeting. So let's go to host the meeting with video off. So I'm going to click on that. And you'll get the screen where you need to select the Open Zoom button. This typically comes up whenever you open a Zoom session. So go ahead and click Open Zoom. And now it asks me, how am I going to join? Am I joining with computer audio? Or am I joining via phone? Now, if I join via phone, it gives me various telephone numbers. Typically, you just take the first telephone number and dial in. So it gives you the number. It gives you the meeting ID. It's always, when you call, it's always going to ask you for your meeting ID. Your participant ID, it's also going to ask you for that as well. Your participant ID allows the meeting host to know, as well as the software to know when you're speaking, who's speaking. So when you put in your participant ID, whenever you go to talk, the software knows that it's you talking, and the person will also know that it's you talking. If you were calling from someplace else, there is an option to change. If you're traveling, then you can change the country, and it will give you a dial-in number for that country. So I'm going to go back to computer audio. I will be joining via my computer audio, and I want to test my speaker and microphone. So I do hear a ringtone. I'm going to click yes. And it asked me, did I hear my replay? And yes, I did. So you can always test your audio and speakers to make sure that your mic is working, that your speakers are working, so that you can be heard if you're using the computer. So let's join with audio computer. Again, click join with audio computer. And this is the first screen that you will see once your Zoom meeting starts. So again, you are the host. You've already clicked on the link to host a meeting, and this is the first screen that you will see. From this screen, it gives you the meeting topic. We didn't put one in, so it just gives your name, Zoom meeting. It tells you who the host is. We're not using a password, but if you want to give people a password, then there you have it. You have the invitation in case you need to copy it and send it to someone else, then you can do so. And again, your participant ID. Now we have the option, we're already joined, but if you were not, then you can, if you wanted to change, maybe you want to now use your phone. Well, you go back to phone call and put the information into dial. If you wanted to share your screen, we could do that as well. And then last, invite others. So when you click on invite others, there's an option to look for, you can filter. Now you may or may not have this screen, but you can filter through the Montgomery College lists. So let's say I'm looking for Stacy Ford. I could invite her to my meeting. There's also a way to invite people via email. So you would use your default email, which is your Outlook, your Montgomery College Outlook. If you wanted to use Gmail and Yahoo, it works the same. There's also an option to copy the URL as well as copy the invitation. So you have a few options. So I'm going to click on default email. And what happens, it brings up my Outlook, my Montgomery College Outlook. And from here, same thing. If I want to invite someone, then I can invite Stacy. And I just want to show you what it looks like. So you'll get the meeting. You see, join Zoom meeting. So if you're joining from your computer, your tablet, or your laptop, once you receive the email, you would click this link and it will automatically take you inside the meeting. When you call, so that you can interact, if you're not going to use your computer audio, then you would call one of these numbers here. You see the closest is New York. If you are traveling and you're not near New York, there's a Chicago number that you can use. This is if you're using your via mobile. This is actually one tap mobile. So if you're using your cell phone, then you could just tap and it will automatically dial. Otherwise, you can click here, dial by location. We have several locations. We have New York, Chicago, San Jose, Houston, and a few other numbers. So the closest to Maryland would be New York. So you could dial this number. And then it's going to ask you for your meeting ID, and you put that number in for your meeting ID. Now, when you're calling via the phone, it's not going to ask you for your participant ID because it knows that you're calling in based on the invitation. So again, if you were a participant, you would have, if you were Stacy, then you would be looking at the email that has this information. You could click on the link and it will automatically take you into the meeting. But when you go to call in, it's going to ask you for your meeting ID. And it also gives you the password. So I'm going to minimize this. If I were to do Gmail, it's going to come up the same way. It opens as a message, a Gmail message. Please join the Zoom meeting in progress. So this is Gmail. Again, it puts all the information inside. And once you receive it, once your participants receive the invitation, they just click on the link And so it does the same thing. You see, we're in Gmail, for Gmail and for Yahoo. So that is invite others. You have the option to send an invitation while you have the meeting up via Outlook, Gmail, or Yahoo. Now, these are the menu items that we have here. Mute. If you want to mute yourself, you can click and you'll see the red line. The red line means that it's muted. You can unmute. Start video. I have a tab over my video so you won't see me, but if you unclick, then you'll see the video. Again, there's an invite on the toolbar. You can invite others. Manage participants. So if there were other people, there's an option to mute everyone or to unmute everyone. And so that's what the manage participant is for. Share my screen. I'll come back to that in one moment. To chat. There's an option to chat. If there were other people here, it would be a list of everyone that was chatting, and you would be able to see everyone that was listed. There's an option, no one else is here, but if there were other members in here, you would be able to send a private message to someone. I would be very careful with that because you don't want to mistakenly send a message to everyone that you meant for one particular person. So I would wait until I kind of get the hang of Zoom before I start playing around with sending private messages. There's an option here in the chat. If you wanted to send a file, there is an option here to add a file. I'll click on my computer and I'll just add this. And so there's an option if you want to add a file in the chat for everyone to see, you can do that. The attendees will be able to download the file and see. While we're in the chat window, there's an option to save the chat. Now, anyone that's on the call can save the chat. So be mindful of that. People can save the chat. So you just don't want to put anything in the chat that you wouldn't want someone knowing because it can be saved. So just be cautious of that. Now let's go back to share screen. When I click on share screen, any windows that I have open will show. So I'm going to click on this here. This is the window that I want to show. And let me see, is my file? Here's the file. Okay. So this is the window that I want to show. And so I clicked on this. So all the participants that were in my meeting, they would be able to see this document because this is what I'm sharing with my participants. When I'm ready to stop sharing, I can click stop share. I can also pause sharing if I don't want them to see what I'm doing. I can resume. I can annotate. So there's an option to annotate if you need, not that one, sorry. There's an option to annotate if I need to highlight something, if I need to select something, if I needed to type something. There's an eraser. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. There's also an option to save the annotations. So that's a cool feature, a great collaborative tool if several of you are working on a document together. So I'm going to close the annotation toolbar. This is just another menu. I'm not going to go through this menu because some of these are more advanced, but you know, there's options. There's a lot of options in Zoom. If you wanted to record, that is an option. However, I must let you know that one, you have to let people know that you are recording, and two, you have to allow them to say that it's okay for you to record them. So when you're recording a meeting, please get permission to record your participants, and that's the proper thing to do. So this is sharing. I'm going to do a new share. So now I want to share the whiteboard. You'll see there's an iPhone, iPad option, and then there's a whiteboard. So I'm going to share the whiteboard. Again, another collaborative tool that you could use. You need to type text. Maybe you're not sure what you're going to talk about at the next meeting. And so you ask for feedback. What are some options that you all want to talk about for the next meeting? Lunch, yay. So there are some options here. Again, you can save your annotations. You can save this whiteboard and you'll have it for later. So I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm back at the meeting. And again, there's the record button. If you want to record, it gives you the option to record on this computer or to record to the cloud. So you're recording your meeting. It's asking you, where do you want it to be saved? There are breakout rooms, but that's an advanced feature. I would not worry about that. And last, we have end meeting. And so when you are done meeting with your participants and you are ready to end the meeting, then you would select end meeting. And one thing I forgot to mention, when you are in the chat, if you're having many people in the chat, you want to designate a moderator so that you are focusing on presenting, and then you have someone else that can monitor the chat and answer questions, so that it's not distracting and you can focus on your presentation. So keep that in mind for when you're having department meetings or when you're having multiple people on a presentation. You want to dedicate someone specifically to the chat so that they can monitor without you having to go back and forth between your presentation and your chat. That concludes my training. This is the basic use of Zoom. Should you have any other questions, there is an instructional guide that also provides information on how to use Zoom. You can always contact the IT help desk as well. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I am now ending the meeting for all.